Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. That is Jack. I am Conrad, and this is the 45. Transfer Not So Stupid. We're looking at some perfect windows, and the last in our series is Aston Villa Football Club. They axed their sporting director, who had spent about 140, 150 million on their promotion last year on 12 different players. They look to be very data-driven. Bringing Johan Long from Copenhagen, had a good net spend over his 6 years there, and they've got a couple of challenges that they need to address. They shipped a ton of goals. This team scored 41, gave up 67. They were saved from relegation on the very last day with 35 points, 9 wins, 8 draws, 21 losses, good for 17th place. Heaton is coming off injury, out for the first few matches, hasn't played since December. Pepe Reina provided a bit of a lift last year, helping them stave off relegation, but he's off to Lazio, so clearly they probably need to start in the keeper
Yeah,
position.
that's exactly where we end up starting. Dean Smith, I think, wants to sign players to compete with Heaton, or at least one other keeper to try and make that a competitive number one spot. And I think Emi Martinez is perfect for almost all parties involved. He wants to be a number one. I don't think that's a guarantee at Arsenal, considering that Bernd Leno is probably your number one guy there. He would be able to compete with Heaton, which would help him improve. And at 27, he's at an age where he still has a lot of growth left in him. He wants to be the Argentina number one, can still do that. For Aston Villa, he's very talented, and at £10 million, that's a great, great price, especially if you want to be more effective with your
Insane
spending.
number.
Especially with coronavirus, you want to be very effective with your finances. Getting a guy who was, in the 9 matches he played last year, the best in the league in post-shot expected goals at 0.48 per 90. And that's much better than guys who were negatives for Pepe Reina and Heaton. So, again, would be a good competitor for Heaton in that number one spot, and they could really offer some good value for money for Villa.
Agreed. Next up, also on that back line now, Matty Cash, right back out of Nottingham Forest. A good number.
And heavily linked to them, £12 million. He would help Dean Smith be able to go with a more attacking, more positive game plan, because he is more equipped to do that than the current options at that right back spot. He wouldn't be a guaranteed starter. He would be able to come in, offer depth, offer competition for places, which would be very nice for a side that, again, did struggle defensively. So I think he is rumored to go to a lot of clubs. We had him going to Sheffield United in our not-so-stupid transfers for them. West Ham were also kind of rumored to be looking at him. So a lot of clubs believe he can make that step up. And I think Aston Villa would be a very good spot because he wouldn't be like a necessary starter, so he wouldn't have to have a lot of pressure on him when he makes the jump from Championship to Premier League football. But he would also be able to offer you competition for places, and a guy who I think really is ready for that jump. And while Martinez, maybe not the greatest value for long-term money, Cash, still very young, 23 years old, has a lot of room of potential to grow into. And in the future, if you do want to maybe sell him off for a profit, 12 million is a very good point to eventually sell him off. We all know those English players, they end up going for quite a lot of money.
Next up, we've got a striker. So 2/3 of the 3 that we're looking at, we could look at 40 players for Villa. There are so many rumors out here. We vacillated between Ollie Watkins out of Brentford, choosing to go here with Callum Wilson with Premier League experience out of Bournemouth as
And
striker.
that's the all-important factor that we kind of fell upon. And it's, yes, I think Watkins, is he a better player than Wilson? That's a debate for another day. He was very good in the Championship for them last year. Now, can he make that step up? While we're looking at Cash, yes, he has to make that step up, but it's not a necessary. There's not going to be too much pressure on him. So if he flops at 12 million, that's not an awful flop to have. And you also have other players who were okay in that position at the right back spot. Versus at striker, that's a need that you need to fill. So if you're not going to be able to hit with a big price point, which would be a similar price if you were to try and sign Watkins, yes, you'll have more long-term value in him than you would with Callum Wilson, but I think there's more risk to be taken there. And considering that it's Premier League survival at stake, I'm not sure you want to be taking too many risks. And I think Callum Wilson, he's got a lot of experience with Bournemouth. I think 30 million is probably a bit high. You can probably knock that down to maybe around 20. At 20 million for Callum Wilson, I think that's a very, very good price. Very good buy. He's still only 28. You could still get several years of value out of him.
One player that we have not talked about is Jack Grealish, and keeping him would be like a signing. Obviously, Southgate did not select him for the upcoming Nations Cup games, or Nations League games, and coupled with Man United's apparent interest in Van de Beek, there may not be a transfer for Grealish to United, which would be fantastic for Villa to keep him plus these other players.
Obviously you'd be able to get a lot of money for him, but again, you're wanting to survive this season, and just getting money is not that great whenever you have players who aren't a guarantee to be fits, guarantees to be successes. We saw last summer they splashed a lot of money, didn't really have a lot of players who had great success. So being able to keep Grealish from the season means that you got a guy who you can build your team around. You don't have to tear up your game plan. And he's a guy who was one of the best creators in the entire league. So if you add a Callum Wilson, add any striker, any additions to your team will be benefited, and they'll have increased value because you have, I think, the best English midfielder in Jack Grealish still on your team.
And a super motivated to prove Gareth Southgate wrong, Jack
Exactly.
Grealish, who can improve on that. 8 goals, 6 assists, 91 chances created. Phenomenal season from Grealish. Hoping to see more of that. Stay in the Villa shirt. Be wonderful for Aston Villa to do that. So that is our look at Aston Villa's perfect window. Please like, subscribe, tell us what you think. For Jack, this is Conrad. This has been the 45. Take care now.